Right, good morning everybody. Let's start lecture number 10, I think, right? So today we are going to discuss something about if again. So hope we have already discussed if number 1, right? So then if you can remember, I think last few weeks we discussed about group accounts, right? I'm not sure whether you have already followed group accounts. What I need to discuss one question, I'll do it in the revision session. We will have revision 1, then I'll do at least 1 or 2 questions again from group accounts. And now hopefully people will study these again and again, otherwise a little difficult. No. Again we are going to move for the kind of technical stuff. You can remember IFRICs, International Financial Reporting Interpretation Committee Guidance. So if you can remember, we have already learned only one IFRIC. It's about IFRIC number 1, decommissioning liability, which is fairly easy one, but the content wise little bit big, but easy one. Today I am going to discuss another 2 IFRICs, IFRIC number 18 and number 17, right? Then right, then these 2 IFRICs already I have discussed a little very briefly, if you can remember, about transfer of asset from customer. Hope you can hear now. So then the course content is, I was discussing on that. Yes, right? We discussed about introduction part, IFRS 2, IAS 19, financial instruments. Then there I had, I think, around 4 or 5 lectures. Human resource accounting and creative accounting we discussed. Thereafter we discussed group accounts. I did all basics on group accounts. Actually, we didn't do big things on group accounts. Only adjustments for statement of financial position, income statement. And also I did little on associate companies, right? So those are the things we have done already. If you compare to first semester syllabus, totally technical. So now actually I am doing these days marking 50% completed. So probably I will able to issue results within next week. But results wise not happy, because most of the things we discussed in the class gave as it is, but still answers are not, right? So if you can remember, I did revenue questions. Then if you can remember, tuition fee provider story, same as it is I have discussed in the class. And splitting of sale of goods and interest income, that story. And the first question, the inherent limitation of financial statement, qualitative characteristics, etc. I have discussed several times in the class. And concept 1, it is I discussed in the class. If you can remember in the revision, if you just run through revision notes, it is more than enough to write answers for the final exam paper. But what I feel like finally things, and all the videos are there, we did revision and everything. Most of the students, nearly more than, I am sure, I think there were 60 people, close to 60. I remember 60 people sat for the exam, close to 60, maybe 50 something. Nearly, I think more than 30 people have not studied any material that I have given in the class. I'm 100% sure. That is the main conclusion I can draw by looking at your exam. I don't like to see the same thing happening this semester again. This semester we have around 30, 35, more than that, for accounting stream, I think. How many students for accounting stream? Right. 35 people for accounting stream. I am sure if you don't refer materials, because this time syllabus is too technical compared to last semester. Group accounts, if you don't study, you can't do anything. If we can all, sometime little confusing for us even. So then you have to study lot, as well as the IFRS 2 and IAS 19 already I have done. Financial instruments, quite difficult to understand. So therefore I don't know how you manage this semester if you do the same like in the last semester. I am 100% sure this is kind of request. Last time also I told the same. You have to study these and come. If you don't see materials at all, so it is really a bad situation. I am fed up with doing lectures. Students have not referred anything that we have done. When we read answers, very easily we can understand. You don't have even basic understanding about whatever the things we did. Some people do not know how to calculate interest on something. Very simple thing. Like how to multiply something by 10%, they are very poor. So that is 10% discount in fact was given. Same thing I did in the class as it is. It was there in the revision tute as well as in my question in the lecture. But still, very poor answering. I don't know the reason. Maybe they have taken this thing very simply because online. So people who are coming every day, anyway, I feel they will manage somehow. I'm sure. At least you have to keep 50% attendance. So that's my opinion, to keep in touch with the studies. Otherwise, really difficult. Now this time, look, we have only few people. Online around 5 people, 4 people, including you, I think. Right? So I don't know how people refer this thing. But no excuse. Remember, if I feel that people have not followed the lectures properly, I don't make any attempt to pass them. I don't want to give any kind of addition even to set up margins to pass them. So you have to pass the exam, because even though you have paid money, you have to understand. Try for this at least. Right? You have to put minimum attempt. Minimum attempt also not there. So then I just said because I am finalizing marking these days. By next week, sure you can get your result. So we will come back to this. Hope at least when you refer this video in the future, you will understand about the exam next time. Right? When is exam? March, no? March, yes, right? And also I uploaded. I have given you assignment. I wanted to remind you, and I uploaded. I opened the LMS Dropbox for the assignment number 2. I'll open the online test as possible as early, right? And I'll keep it open at least 1 or 2 weeks. No worries on that. But you have to submit your assignment on 5th March, right? That is last week, as I remember, of the semester. It is about writing a report on IFRS 13. So IFRS 13 is available. It's about fair value measurement. Already we have discussed several items related to fair value. Everywhere we are talking about fair value, fair value, fair value. You have to just write an essay on fair value. It's easy work, no? Right? So then I have given all guidance in the course outline, the second page. The first assignment is relating to online test or the MCQ test. I'll upload it later, probably within 12 week to 15th week. You can try for that. I'll keep it open at least for 1 or 2 weeks. No worries on that. It means you can get together and do. It is possible even, right? No worries, because I'll upload a lot of questions. Then you'll not get similar questions. It is there. Then remember about the assignment as well. Then total, I'm planning to give 40% out of 100% for assignments. 20 marks for the online test and 20 marks for the report, right? You don't have any presentation or something like that, but 20 marks will be given for the essay that I'm expecting to write on fair value application. But I'm not going to teach you the fair value. It's kind of extraordinary work then. But I have discussed how to take fair value in different conditions. Now, if you can remember, we did fair value adjustment in group financial statements, in income statement, as well as statement of financial position. Then we discuss about fair value in financial instruments, if you can remember. We discuss about fair value of what is called defined contribution plan and defined benefit plan related to those. We discuss fair value. Also, we discuss about fair value with IFRS 2. So everywhere we discuss about fair value. So therefore, hope you will see the application of fair value concept. So we'll just see the fair value standard IFRS 13. We have taken most of the guidance from that. So therefore you have to write an essay. Right? So that's your assignment. Right, now I'll come back to this thing again. Trick number 18, transfer of asset from customers. This is actually a little kind of different thing, but hopefully very practical. Especially people who are working for companies like electricity companies, telecommunication companies, sometimes people who are doing kind of construction work for customers. Those kind of companies will apply this IFRS 18, IFRIC number 18. From the name itself, you can understand the meaning. Look, transfer of asset from customers. Usually what happens when we buy an asset, if you are from the buyer's point of view, when we buy an asset, we pay cash and get the asset. Right? Then there is kind of cash outflow. Against that, there is kind of goods inflow. Every time it happens when we buy an asset. You can remember when we talk about main important features relating to recognition of an asset, we learn there should be future economic benefits. Asset arise as a result of past transaction or event, and we learn there should be a controllability over the asset to the organization. So it means when we buy something, let's say if I'm going to buy a laptop today, so then I pay cash and get the laptop from, let's say, Single Mega or Barnes, whatever the thing. So then I get an asset. Asset is laptop, but I paid cash. Right? So then asset belongs to me. It arises as a result of buying. Section is there. And also by using my laptop, I can make future economic benefits to the company. Also, the controllability over the laptop is with me. Therefore, we say laptop is an asset to the organization. It's very clear. But there are some other occasions where we don't do like that. We do the reverse of the same. Let's say if you are going to if you are going to get the electricity connection to your business. Let's say you have constructed a building, you need to get electricity supply. So then what do? You go to what is called electricity board or maybe electricity company. There are two things anyway. Let's say electricity board or whatever the thing. You go and you fill necessary forms, and they ask you ask them to evaluate the distance and the proposal. So then based on that, they will instruct you to pay some money. Then you pay money and get the electricity service. At the same time, you will get some assets. Let's say if you need to fix some electricity, what is called towers, right? Light canoe, right? That towers or poles. So then we have to pay money, extra money. But do you think that the ownership is transferred to you? Actually, ownership is sometimes legal ownership belongs to you, but the controllability is not belongs to you. Why? Let's say if the same electricity tower is used for giving a connection for another entity, they will do that. They will not ask even from you. That means controllability is not over the company. It belongs to the electricity. It means what happens finally. So we paid cash. We have given the ownership as well as the controllability, everything. We don't get an asset. Right? So therefore it is kind of question. From the electricity company point of view, what happens? They get cash, also they get an asset. Usually what happens? When we get cash, sometimes we release an asset. Or we pay cash, we buy an asset. There are some cross flows. But in this kind of case, from the electricity company point of view, they get cash from the customer, also they get an asset from the customer. Sometime, let's say if you need to establish a transformer close to your business place to get electricity connection. If you are running a big production plant, mostly you have to establish what is called transformer, big scale transformer separately to get electricity connection to your business. Local production flow right? Separate transformer will be established to maintain the electricity supply. Then probably who will do the construction part? Probably by the electricity board. They will come and do the construction, but we have to pay money. Finally, the transformer belongs to whom? To the electricity board. Then there are two aspects here. From the customer side, actually I pay money, also I give back the asset. I don't have an asset. It means from the customer or the company point of view, they are not in a position to recognize this asset in their books of accounts. It is purely an expense. On the other hand, uh, the electricity company, they will get cash, also they will get an asset. There are two things to see. Also recently one student told me one another story. Around their business place, they are going to have a fence to prevent the elephants coming into them. Something like that. That fence also belongs to whom? Fine. That is also not belongs to the company. It belongs to what is called wildlife. There is a department. No? It belongs to them. So then sometime the company will spend money because they need to protect their assets. Therefore they will spend money on that particular fence. But it belongs to whom? Belongs to the other government agency. So look, most of the cases, what happens? We spend money, we don't get an asset, one side. On the other side, the company or the electricity board or the whatever the department, they don't spend money, but they get an asset. Now how to recognize accounts in both the point of view? But remember, IFRIC number 18 is silent about the customer's point of view. They instruct how to recognize this kind of assets for the receiver. Receiver means, in my example, I can say electricity board. Understand? So, but from the customer's point of view, it is silent. Why? It's a kind of expense. We can't recognize anything as an asset because we just spend money and the asset also given to the other side. We don't have any controllability over it. Look, even your electricity meter you have in your houses, you don't have any controllability. You can't touch it even. You can't open it even. It is sealed. So then controllability is with whom? In the other party. Sometime we have question whether there are some gray areas also. Like let's say here we have 4G connection. What do you think about this? There are some gray areas even. It's quite difficult to understand whether it belongs to us or it belongs to the telecommunication provider. What do you think about this? Actually we bought it. It's very clear. Then it arises as a result of past transaction. In my side, is it an asset to me? 4G connection? Who has the controllability? Do I have the controllability on this? Can I use this particular equipment to get what is called internet connection from another supplier? No. Then I don't have controllability actually. So that's the point. Mostly we can't recognize actually this also as an asset. Even it belongs to the company or the university, we can't control this asset. Why? If we can put another chip to get the internet connection from another supplier, let's say from Mobitel or whatever the thing, Etisalat or whatever the point, so then the controllability is with us. So otherwise, we don't have any controllability. Actually, controllability is with whom? With the telecommunication provider. Even when you take what is called satellite disk, we fix for what is called dialogue TV, DTV. Usually we feel like we paid money for the disk. It has been established on our roof. It's true. Do we have controllability over it? No controllability. We can't use the same asset to get some other connections. If I need only thing, I can dispose it. It is not the controllability, right? But we have some questions on these, but IFRIC number 18 is not discussing those. This has specific scope. We will see what are those later, little technical. Right now, specifically this IFRIC number 18 is applicable only for the receiver side. That means I get cash, as a result of that I get an asset. Both inflows. Right? This help, the IFRIC number 18 helps us to resolve that kind of stories, especially people who are getting the asset, not people who are losing the asset. That means this is not discussing about the customer's point of view. Let's say if I am going to now, another example, if I say, there are some companies, they provide cool room facilities, right? So what they do, they construct cool rooms on behalf of customers. Cool rooms are constructed in two ways, sometime in their own premises, sometime in customers' premises. Understand? So then what they do, they establish cool rooms. Big cool rooms are there sometime, right? Very big ones. So cool room service is given. Sometimes cool room is constructed on their own premises based on the customer's requirement. Then who has a controllability over this asset? Probably the company. They charge money from the customer to establish the cool room. Controllability with them sometimes. Also another one, what is called water supply. Let's say if you are going to construct a very big plant, somewhere in let's say in very big number of acres, what you have to do to maintain water supply? What you have to do? You have to construct a big water tank. Right? Sometimes supply is given by the water supply. We call it water board. Sometimes water board has right to give water connections for some others also using the same tank. Using the same tank. Then who has a controllability? It is with the water board. So therefore, there are some assets like that to account for. So then we'll see how IFRIC number 18 instructs us to do this kind of accounting. Very simply, if you imagine, before we move into this, let's assume you are working for electricity board. When you establish a transformer for a customer, or if you put some electricity towers for customers, you get money. You charge money from customers. It means you will get cash. On the other hand, you will get an asset. Then how do you account for this? Very simple. Let's say you are going to charge 1 million for a transformer. Then you will charge 1 million from the customer and you will establish the transformer. Then you get cash. Therefore, cash debit. And we have to credit it. Is it income? You can't say income, right? Using that money, what you have to do? You have to fix the transformer. Then you have to spend money. Then how to recognize it? It's kind of question. Then other one, as a result of transformer, there are some agreements like that. Some companies spend billions of money on construction of the transformer. As a result of that, electricity supply will be provided at a discount rate. It's not that good. So there are certain occasions, that kind of things also happening. Why? They spend billions of money using the same. The board will provide some other electricity connection from some other entities also. It is a benefit to them. As a result of that, they will give a discounted rate for the entity who has constructed this. Now, how do you do that? So then there is a question. Actually, we have to look at IAS 18 also. What is IAS 18? IFRIC 18 is going with IAS 18. Oh, we call it LKS 18. What is LKS 18? Last semester we learned. ඒකෙන් විභාගෙට තිබ්බනේ කන්නු. අපි ඒව හරියට ලියලා නැහැ අතන. මොකද්ද? IAS 18 මොකද්ද? Anybody who is online, what is IAS 18? Pereira, Ediri Singha, who are the people who are online? Let's see. Ediri Singha. 18 leasing. Taraj is not available today, no? Is it for lease? Lease, I think we didn't do last semester. We didn't do? Yeah. I hope to do it today if I have time. It is for revenue. Yes, Thayar is there. Revenue. Right? Last semester we had 2 questions on 2 or 3 questions from revenue. Very poor answering. So then we have to think about revenue also, because one side actually the receiver will recognize something as deferred revenue. You can remember last semester also we learned something about deferred revenue. Right? So we'll see how to do that. So let's see the scope of this. Look, references. I told you. Actually, now, if you take one standard, one IFRIC, you have to refer many standards. You can remember in IAS, so IFRIC number 1, decommissioning and decommissioning, restoration and similar liabilities, we can remember. Changes in decommissioning, restoration and similar liabilities. There we learned more than I think 5 standards. LK is 1 applicable there, major one 16, LK is 8, and some more standards there, right? So here again, look, we are going to touch some other standards, which is actually different extracts or important learning points are taken from these standards. That is the reason, right? So look here, first one, framework. Why we need to have framework in this standard? You can remember, we need to see whether this is an asset. Asset definition is mentioned where? Asset definition is given by the accounting framework, right? So therefore we have to look at. Actually, first time adoption, this thing is not that much applicable in our case because already we have adopted IFRS version in 2012. So therefore you don't want to look at that. Accounting policies. Change, actually we are doing some accounting estimates in this IFRIC number 18, therefore we have to touch it. PPE, we have to think whether it is an PP. If you are going to construct a transformer, definitely it comes under non-current asset. It means coming under PPE. You have to look at it. Then revenue, IAS 18. These two are the major ones we have to think. And also government grant. Actually, we have not done this one. IFRIC number 12, service concession arrangement. We have not done that one. Therefore, I don't touch that much. But the main two about this one, these two, we have to look at 16 and 18. Most of the guidance are extracted from IAS 16 and IAS 18 relating to IFRIC number 18, transfer of asset from customers. Let's go ahead. Already I explained all these areas. Just see, we need to read these items because already I have explained these. The utilities industry and entity may receive from its customers item of, look, property, plant and equipment that must be used to connect those customers to the network and provide them with ongoing access to supply of commodities such as electricity, gas or water. I told you, right? So then even foreign countries, gas also same. In our country we have gas cylinders. In most of the countries what they have? They have gas lines. Gas lines are there. We need to get like in water connections also same. No? Now in our country we have water, what is called water lines. No? If I need to get water connection, what I need to do? Sometime I have to lay pipes. So on my cost I have to do it. So I can remember when I get water connection to my house also, what happened? So I laid, I think, more than 50 meters pipes on my account. They didn't do it. So then they gave the connection from the road to my house. So then there are two other lands. So they also got the benefit what they had. So later they got the water connection from the same line. I don't have any control to control it. The water board came. So then they opened the line and they gave the connection from that pipe line. So that means finally what has happened? I spent money and given the line to whom? To the water board. So that's why we say, look, property, plant and equipment, in their hand, it is kind of PP that they get. It's kind of asset to them, right? The important point here in IFRIC number 18, understand we are not going to look at it from the customer's point of view. We are going to look at it from the company point of view. Understand? Alternatively, an entity may receive cash from customers. Look, I told you. The company will get the cash from customers also to construct or acquire the asset of such property, plant and equipment. They get cash, also they get the controllability and ownership, sometimes both. In addition to that, what I have to do? Look, the last point. Customer should pay extra, the additional money to get the service also. Now, water connection is still again I have to pay money for water connection. The amount I use. Even for electricity same. For the usage I have to pay. But the question is sometime this condition is mostly not available in our country, some very rare. I can have a discount price. Discount price. On the other hand, it will be kind of cost. So therefore we have to think on that as well. We'll see. Look this example. A property developer, a construction company, builds a residential complex in an area that is not connected to the water mains. To connect the water mains, the property developer is required to install a network. It happens now. Say, let's say if you are going to start a land sale, mostly water is not available. Then you have to lay down all what is called pipelines, and it is on account of property developer. And after lay down all these pipelines, the water board will provide the water connection. Finally, these pipelines and everything belongs to whom? Belongs to the water board. Right? So then that kind of story here. To connect the water mains, the property developer is required to install the network of pipes and to transfer them to the water supply company, which will supply future service to the residents of the complex. Right? In this example, property developer and residents of the neighborhood, present and future, would both regard as, look, customers. In this standard, if you can remember, transfer of asset from whom? From customers. Transfer of asset from customers. Here, customer means, look, who is the customer? There are three parties involved in this example. One is property developer, let's say land seller. Other one is customer, what is called the residents. And other one is water board. There are three parties. We are going to account for the water board actually. Understand? But customers will be property developer and the residents. Residents will pay money regularly, monthly, for the water connection, water usage that they use. Also, property developer will lay all these pipelines and everything on behalf of residents. Understand? Then these two parties we recognize as residents and property developer. We call customers in this case, but we are going to account for the water board. Then look, transfer of asset from customers. Right? Transfer of asset from customers, because all these pipelines, everything will belongs to water board finally. So that's what we are going to learn. Up to now, what we did, we tried to clarify the scope. It is a difficulty in this case. Look, transfer of asset from customers may also occur in industries other than utilities. Good example, look. For example, an entity outsourcing its information technology functions. Let's say, if I need to outsource my IT functions or data entry operation, what I can do? I can contact outsourcing company, BPO, and hand over all my accounting part to them. At the same time, what I have to do sometime? Sometime I have to give my already purchased accounting software plus computers and servers, everything should be given to whom? Given to them. Finally, control belongs to whom? Belongs to them. When I outsource my accounting work, I give all my computers and everything, systems and everything. Then what they do? Using that, they will do the data entry operation. Then we have to pay regularly money for the service being done by the company. In that case, look, from their point of view, they will get set of an asset, also they will get income regularly. Understand? So it is also covered by this standard. That's why it says. Outsourcing technology functions may transfer its existing items of PPE for the outsourcing provider. Right? Look another example. Company R, the receiving entity, enters into an agreement with the customer, which involves the customer outsourcing its information technology, same thing I told you previously, IT functions to R. The agreement requires the customer to transfer ownership of existing IT equipments and all software license to R. Very clear? Outsource කරන්න නම් ඔක්කොම දෙන්න ඕන license ටිකයි equipments ටික. Under the agreement, R is responsible for maintaining the equipment and for replacing when it is needed. ඊට පස්සේ කවුද ඒවා replace කරන්නේ? R. R determines that transaction does not contribute a business combination. Business combination එකක් හිතන්නේ නැහැ. In this example, the IT equipment transferred to R by the customer is within the scope of IFRIC number 18. Now within the IFRIC number 18 means we are going to account for whom? We are going to account for R. R will receive what? R will receive all software licenses and computers from the customer. Then it is within the scope of IFRIC number 18, transfer of asset from customers. Customer can transfer on all software licenses and equipments, IT equipments. Right. Right. Another example. Customer C constructs a manufacturing plant some distance from the electricity network. I told the same. This is very close example to your practical personal life. To obtain access to the network, C has two options. Look, what are the two options? Construct the infrastructure, cables, poles, etc. from the plant to the network and transfer those assets to the electricity supply. Let's assume you are going to start a big manufacturing company in a rural area, which you don't have electricity network, electricity supply. Then what do you have to do? Electricity line. Who has to spend money? You have to spend money, right? So then you will do all these work. ලංකාවේ නම් ඇත්තටම එහෙම දෙන්නේ නැහැ. පිටට නම් දෙනවා. ලංකාවේ නම් මොනවද කරන්න ඕන? අපි සල්ලි බැඳලා ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි වැඩේ කරන්නේ. එහෙමනේ කරන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි කණු දානවද මොනවද කරන්නේ කියලා. දැන් සමහරලාට අර කළු පාට වයර කියනවා නම් ඒක ඉන්නේ මීටර් කොච්චරක්ද තියෙනවා. මීටර් 200ද කොහෙද වැඩි නම් අය කේබල් දාන්න ඕනේ. මොනවද අර 3 phase ද මොනවද කියන්නේ අර අදින්නේ කම්බි අදින්න ඕනේ. Then we have to spend money. Big amount of money. Same thing. Or the second option, request the electricity supplier to construct the infrastructure to reimburse the electricity supplier for the constant cost incurred. ඇත්තම මේ option එක තමයි ලංකාවේ නම් තියෙන්නේ. අපිට හදන්න බෑනේ. අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අපි සල්ලි දෙනවා electricity board එකට. ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි අපිට ඔක්කොම හයි කරන්නේ. කණු ටික දාලා electricity supply එක දීලා transformer එක ගහලා ඔක්කොම කරන්නේ කවුද? They will do the job. They will do kind of assessment for that. එහෙමනේ. So then it is option number 2. Anyway, once the connection has been established, C will charge on ongoing basis for the electricity that it consumes. හරිනේ? ඊට පස්සේ ඉතින් electricity පාවිච්චි කරනවා සල්ලි ගෙවන්න එහෙම කරන්නේ. In this example, if IFRIC 18 deals only with how electricity supplier should account for, look this one. Customer contribution made by C. Again what? This IFRIC number 18 covers only one aspect. කාගේ පැත්තෙන් accounts බලන්න? From the electricity board side. So customer පැත්තෙන් මුකුත් එයා කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. So that's a point, right? Understand this because it is important for the next few. ඊළඟට කතා කරන්න යන එකට ඔක ඕනේ. Receive, I told you. That receive such transfer from their customers. All these. I told this part, මං කියපුවා කියන්නේ නැත්නම් ඕනේ නැහැ. This interpretation does not apply, look. In which the transfer is either a government grant or service concession arrangement. Actually, these two we have not discussed. So therefore, I am not going to rush these two areas. Right? So it takes time. Right. Now what are the issues? International Financial Reporting Interpretation Committee Guidance 18 discuss these 4 main issues. Look, Only for the receiver side. Imagine how to account for the company who gets the asset as well as who get the cash. Not the side or the customer, the person who pay cash and who give the asset. Not that side. The person who get cash also who get an asset. Probably electricity board you can imagine. What are the questions we are trying to discuss? Whether asset definition is met. Receiver to make asset එකක්ද? We have to find an answer for that question. Now electricity board එකට make asset එකක්ද? To think on that, you imagine you are the electricity board. Now you have constructed a transformer for a customer. Imagine whether it is an asset. Is it arise as a result of transaction or event? Yes, no, you get into an agreement with the customer. Then customer paid money. It doesn't matter. It's kind of transaction. It is there. Do you have economic benefits? Yes. Hey, what economic benefit එකක් තියෙන්නේ? The customer will pay what? There are two benefits. Yes, it's true. One, you can use the same transfer to provide electricity supply for other customers. One benefit. Also, using that electricity transformer, the customer will use electricity supply. On that, electricity company will get cash for the usage of the electricity. පාවිච්චි කරනකොට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙනවා. Then there is a benefit. Next one is controllability. Yes or no? Yes. ඇත්තටම ඒක හදපු කම්පැනි එකට ටච් කරන්නවත් බෑ. Transformer. It is not allowed. ඒගොල්ලෝට මොකුත් කරන්න බෑ. The total controllability over the transformer is with the electricity board. So therefore the third condition also satisfied. Therefore you can understand is under the definition of asset. Right? Second question. If the definition of an asset is met, how should the transfer item of property, plant and equipment be measured on initial recognition? Usually PPs are recognized at which value? At cost. Then I make a mind කොහොමද? So it's another question. We will see. And the third question, if somehow you put the value, value එකක් දැම්මා කියමුකෝ. Where do you put the credit entry? Because you don't pay cash. No? The electricity board will not pay cash to anybody to construct it. They do the construction from others' money. Then where do you put the credit entry? Look, debit entry very clear. Debit entry goes to cash. Why? You charge cash from customers. Then we have to credit it. So it's question. Finally, how the entity account for transfer of asset from customers. Thereafter, how do you keep it in over the years? හැමදාම එහෙම තියන් ඉන්නවද? Whether you depreciate it. So you have to think on that. Those are the questions we are going to address one by one through this trick number 18. Let's see one by one. Already I gave the answer for this first question. Is the definition of an asset met? Let's see. You know the definition of an asset. We are referring accounting framework. Therefore, I don't want to explain it. Already I have explained it. In most of the cases, the entity will get the ownership, but ownership is not essential condition to recognize an asset. But every time, the controllability will be with whom? With the company. Therefore, I explained already this point, therefore no need to say it again. On the receiver's side or on the receiver's hand, this kind of assets will be recognized as an asset because all conditions are met. Yeah, same thing I explained. Controllability, all these conditions they are talking about. Look this example. Company R is an electricity supplier with a large manufacturing customer. Customer C wants to ensure that it has constant electricity supply to meet its high usage requirements. Under the local regulatory framework, in order to obtain such constant supply, C is required to construct a dedicated electricity substation and a transformer. Electricity substation to R specification on C's property. Customer ke property ke thamai gahanu gak වෙලාට ඉතින් එහෙම තමයි වෙන්නේ. මේ property එක තමයි අපි හදාගන්නේ transformer එක. දැන් electricity substation we call it. Once constructed, R will be responsible for maintaining the substation for guaranteeing the electricity supply to C via the substation. එතන maintenance කරන්නේ කවුද? Board එකෙන්. ඒගොල්ලෝ maintain කරන්නේ. Right? If C chooses to disconnect from R, then the substation could not be used by other suppliers. ලංකාවේ නම් electricity board මොකක්ද දෙකක් තියෙනවා නේද? මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? board එකයි private company එක දෙකක් තියෙනවා කෑලි නේ බෙදලා තියෙන්නේ. In this example, R controls the asset. Note that R may also need to assess its agreements in accordance with IFRIC number 4. What is IFRIC number 4? We have not learned. IFRIC number 4 relating to whether agreement contain a lease. ඒක අපි කරලා නැති එකක් තාම පස්සේ කරමු. It's if it is acts as lessor මේක අපි තාම කරලා නැහැ. We will keep it for a while, right? So we have not done this IFRIC number 4. It's about transfer of asset from whether agreement contain a lease. Right, number 2, question number 2. What is question number 2? How should the transfer of item of property, plant and equipment be measured on initial recognition? If it is recognized as property, plant and equipment, how do you measure it? Look what it says. If the entity concludes that the definition of asset is met, next point, it shall recognize transferred asset as an item of PP in accordance with, look, IAS 16 and what it says, measure its cost on, look, initial recognition at its fair value. Why do you say like that? Customer will pay money. Company will construct it. Sometime when company construct it, you can't see actual cost of that. If actual cost is not appearing, take the fair value of the same and consider it as initial cost. How it happens? Let's say like this. In Sri Lanka, this is very rare. Now, sometimes it's happening for water mains. Sometimes you can pay money to water board to lay pipes. It is available in our country. Or I can dig the road, not road, if it is my own land, I can dig it and lay pipes, and finally ownership is transferred to the water board. In that case, look, water board will not get single cent, but they get assets. Do they have any cost? No. In that case, what they have to do? Take the fair value of these pipes and take it as original cost to them or initial cost to them. So that's why they say like this. But if you are going to separate what is called electricity transformer, in that case probably electricity board will have a cost. It is also not equal to the cost that they charge sometimes. Less than that or maybe higher than that. We can't say exactly. If I need to construct a transformer, if I pay, let's say 1 million to the electricity board, so we don't know whether actually they spend 1 million or something else. in their hand, they will have kind of initial cost. In that case, they will take that cost as initial cost of PP. There may be a difference also, we don't know. Right? Right. Third question. We have only 4 questions here. What is third question? How should the credit be accounted for? We have to put the credit entry. Look what it says. This is a crucial area. Now we know it is an asset. Initially should be recognized at cost. If the cost is not available, take the fair value and recognize it as initial cost. But you go in cost model, understand, and depreciate it. Then if it is a PPE, very clear, if the definition is made, you have to debit to property, plant and equipment. Whatever the value, cost or fair value. Where do you credit it? What is the credit card? It is a question we have now. That is the third area we are not going to address. Now, from the first question we said yes, it is an asset to the receipt. From the second question we learned yes, we have to recognize cost at cost initially. If cost is not there, you take the fair value and consider it as cost. That's fine. Then since you are going to recognize it as an asset, one side also clear, you have to debit to an asset account. We have to credit it now. As you think, go ahead, the credit card. What is the liability you have? Do you repay back? Electricity board එක දැන් මට ගෙවනවද අපෝ? ඒක කවදා හරි සල්ලි. Then it's not liability. It's a question we have. Question will be further complicated if the scenario is like this. Electricity board එකේ මට දෙනවා කියලා discounted price එකක්. නැත්නම් අපි හිතමු cool room එකක් හදවනවා නම් මට cool room එක හැදුවන් පස්සේ කියනවා cool room customer යා කියනවා මට rent එක ටිකක් අඩුවෙන් ගෙවන්න. එතකොට මොකද? There are two things to be considered. Look, we have to refer IAS 18 revenue. Actually, in normal circumstances, we have to recognize it as part of deferred revenue. Credit entry goes to where then? Deferred revenue. Part by part, you have to recognize as revenue over which number of years? Now, I am the electricity board. Very simple story. I am the electricity board. I constructed an electricity substation for this customer. Then customer paid me 1 million. Exactly 1 million I spent to construct the what is called transformer. Then I established the transformer. It's an asset to me now. Therefore, asset account debit, we have to credit. Initially, I get cash from you. Then my cash debit 1 million. Deferred revenue credit 1 million. Then I construct the transformer. I have cost. Abhi tum hariyata 1 million giye. Then I spend 1 million cash credit. Where to debit? Property, plant and equipment, debit. Then finally what happens? Cash, debit, credit, it will be set off. I have debited to PP and credited to deferred revenue. Understood? So deferred revenue should be recognized as revenue part by part over how many years? Useful lifetime of what? Property, plant and equipment. On one side, what I do, I depreciate my PP part by part. On the other side, I have to recognize revenue part by part. Sometime there will be nil impact or zero impact to the income statement. Look what it says now. But it is very simple scenario. When goods are sold to service and render, it's any fine. So we have to recognize something as revenue. That's why they say. And this is first point. According to the terms of the agreement, within the scope of this interpretation, a transfer of asset of PPE would be an exchange for dissimilar goods and services. Therefore, entity shall recognize revenue in accordance with IAS 18. That's why I said you have to keep it as a deferred revenue. Part by part, over the useful lifetime of the asset, you have to recognize it as income. That's how IFRIC number 18 says. Another issue. If it is on a normal scenario, you can do like that. What I told you, very simple level. Let's assume you get 1 million for the electricity construction of what is called electricity substation, or we call it a transformer. How to account for the electricity both sides? Very simply, PP debit and deferred revenue credit. Actually, this entry comes how? First we get cash from customer. I am repeating the same again. Then cash debit and credit to deferred revenue. I spend same amount of 1 million, but it is not so every time. We'll see how it is different later. Even I charge 1 million from customer, sometimes I don't spend 1 million as it is. Will be less than that sometimes. Understand? The balance part goes to actually it's my revenue, pure. Right? So then I spend, let's assume I spend 1 million as it is. Then my cash credit, debit credit cash will be settled finally. Cash credit and debit to PP. Finally, what is the entry? Remain in the books. PP debit, deferred revenue credit. It won't happen every time like this. Even I charge 1 million from customers, I have to spend sometime 1.2 million. Then asset value will be 1.2 million. Deferred revenue will be only your 1 million you paid me. Understand what I said? We'll do that kind of example later. Sometime what happens? Customer pay me 1 million, but I spend only 900,000 to construct the PP. No worries. I get 1 million at the beginning. My cash debit 1 million. Deferred revenue credit 1 million. But I spend only 900,000 for constructing the plant, what is called transformer. Then 900,000 PP debit, cash credit. There will be a cash balance in hand. It doesn't matter. Savings. It's true. On the other hand, revenue part by part will be charged to where? To my income statement. 900,000 will be depreciated over useful lifetime. Then look, my income will be overstated over the years. Depreciation will be understated. No worries. Understand? That's how we should account. Done. But the question will be further complicated if the scenario is like this. Let's say, another example, let's say like this. I charge 1 million from customers to construct a, what is called, transformer. But according to my agreement, I say, since you paid money to establish the transformer, also I have right to give electricity for some other customers using the same. I'll give a discount rate. Then in my hand, there is kind of cost. Because I'm going to give a discount to you. That's what they say here. Identify separately identifiable service. I have two services now actually. I usually charge from customers, usually electricity thing, income. But I have given discount. I recognize this discount also separately. Let's see. One more thing. We are not going to discuss how to account for the electricity income. Then as a result of transformer, I charge money for electricity consumption. I will recognize it as usual revenue. It's something else. Understand? It is not covered by IFRIC number 18. You just read this later, because even though you read this thing now, you can't understand, I'm sure, because without having question, quite difficult. You just see the question and come back to this, then you can understand very easily. Most of the points I have explained already. Yeah, I told this one also. Look, this point. If the agreement does not specify a period, usually revenue should be recognized how? Over the useful lifetime of the asset. I told it. Right? Now come to fourth question. How should we account for this? Already I have explained everything. I told you deferred revenue, then over the years you have to recognize it as revenue part by part. Just to understand this, let's see one question, then only you can understand it properly. Look this, not that. Look this example. Company R is an electricity supplier. Company C is customer of R, contributes an electricity substation to R. In return, R connects C to the network and provides electricity via the substation for 5 years. Look the point there. What? At a reduced rate. At a reduced rate means discounted rate. So then we will have question. In the previous one, very simple thing. I didn't say that we have discount something. R determines that the station should be recognized as an asset. Yes, it's very clear. R means, you just imagine, R can electricity board like it's easy for us. Right? R can estimate both the expected cost of the connection as well as cost of supplying electricity to C over the agreement contract. Additionally, R can estimate the amount of discount that will be provided to C over 5 years compared to other customers who do not contribute this asset. Because now R is going to give a discounted rate for how many years? For next 5 years. You can understand how much will be the customer's consumption over the 5 years. Let's say now what is electricity unit cost? Currently I don't know exactly. Let's say 5 rupees. 5 rupees, but the electricity board will give to this customer, let's say for 4 rupees. 1 rupee discount. So 1 rupee into estimated number of units that the company will consume will be the total discount expected to be given over 5 years. You can calculate it. Let's go further. Just assume in this example that R determines that the connection has standalone value to C and represent a separately identifiable component of the agreement. Yes, it's true. එතකොට කස්ටමර්ට දුන්නා වෙනම යුනිට් එකක්. ඉලෙක්ට්‍රික් සබ්ස්ටේෂන් එකක් ගහලා තියෙන දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝගේ ඉඩමේ අපි හිතමු. ඒක නිසා අපි දෙනවා ඩිස්කවුන්ටඩ් රේට් එකක්. ඇයි දෙන්නේ ඩිස්කවුන්ට් රේට් එකක් අතර? Electricity company can use this transformer to give electricity connection for other customers also. Then electricity company has a value actually, benefit. We are going to again account for the electricity company. Or we call it electricity board. On establishing the connection, R has performed its obligation in that respect and should recognize the related revenue. R has performed its obligation in that respect and should recognize the related revenue. Yes, how? We'll see. The amount of revenue related to the connection service can be determined either based on the relative fair values of the connection service. Relative fair values, we learn how to do this. And the value of discount applied to ongoing service, or as a residual of the fair value. Look, these are things we need to learn. Of the asset contributed less the value of the discount ongoing service. Still I think not clear, but we'll see with statistics, then only you can clarify it. Recognize the remaining revenue as fulfills the remaining performance obligations under the contract. Now, this part is not that much clear because we don't have figures. So therefore we'll see it with figures. Right, now we'll see with figures, then you can understand this. This is not a big job. Scenario 1. I'm going to teach you two scenarios. To fulfill this agreement, C is required to provide a special telephone substation tailored to the requirements of the new development. The substation will own and maintained by R. The estimated fair value of the telephone substation is, look, how much? 100,000. The useful lifetime of the substation is 25 years. There is no residual value. In this example, R has to perform obligations to connect customer to the telephone network and provide service at a reduced rate. R ට වැඩ දෙකක් තියෙනවා කරන්න මොකද්ද? ටෙලිෆෝන් හරි ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිසිටි හරි ඕන එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. එකක් තමයි අපි ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිසිටි හරි ටෙලිෆෝන් හරි කන්ටිනියස් දෙන්න ඕනේ. එකක් ඒක obligation එකක් like you said. There is a liability that in that sense. On the other hand, there will be a discount given. අඩු ගන්නට දෙන්නේ. So then we have to recognize these two separately. Therefore, total consideration received from C. How much they receive from C? ඇත්තටම මේ 10,000 දුන්නේ එහෙනම් ඔය වැඩ දෙකටම. කස්ටමර් දුන්නේ මොකටද? එකක් තමයි සබ්ස්ටේෂන් එක හදන්න. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් එයාට හම්බ වෙනවා ඩිස්කවුන්ට් එකක්. Understand? For both the things they paid 10,000. අපිට පේන්නේ හැබැයි සබ්ස්ටේෂන් එක හදන්න දුන්නා විතරයි. But inside it there is another hidden benefit to the customer. Customer can get a discount. Understand? Therefore, it's very clear now this 10,000 should be split into two. Hey. එකක් සබ්ස්ටේෂන් එක හදන්න. අනිත් එක ඩිස්කවුන්ට් එකට. දැන් ඔය 10,000 එක දීපු නිසා ඩිස්කවුන්ට් එක හම්බෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට. Right. Look. The fair value of the service component. That's why we say IAS 18 says if there are two service components or two revenue sources are attached to one product, it should be split into two and account separately. මතක නම් අර ගේසර් එක්සෑම් එකේ question එකේ තිබ්බා මොනවද තිබ්බේ? ඕකම තමයි තිබ්බේ. Customer will get something, a company will sell something for 13,310, which is to be collected money after 3 years time. Interest and sale of goods. ඒ කියන්නේ sale of goods 10,000. හරියටම discount කරපුවම present value එක තමයි sale of goods. ඉතුරු 3,310 ද කොහෙද කඩන්න ඕන මාස නෙමෙයි අවුරුදු තුනට. 1,000 for the first year, second year 1,100, third year 1,210. එතකොට 100 first year interest මට මතකයි details 100 නෑ 1,000 first year interest 10,000 into 10%, 1,100 second year interest, third year interest 1,210. ඕක තමයි උත්තරේ. 30 seconds you can write it. ඒකත් ලියලා නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ interest එකක්වත් calculate කරගන්න දන්නේ නැහැ හරියට. මේ ලියුවනම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මම කියන්නේ ලියපු නැති අය හිටියා ඕන තරම්. මම බලපුවා 100% sure question number 2 or 3 as I remember. 30ක් විතරම ඒකවත් දන්නේ නැහැ හරියට. very basic thing. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම පාස් කරන්නවත් වටින්නේ නැහැ. ඊළඟ සැරේත් ලියන්න කියන තමයි වටින්නේ. That is where because මොකුත්ම දන්නේ නැත්නම් පාස් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. At least what I feel like if your answering is very poor for a totally new question, I also can make my mind. Hey, අලුත්ම question එකක් නේ. අමන්නේ if you are not competent enough. පන්තියේ කරපු එක එහෙමම දීලත් බැරි නම් පාස් වෙන්නම ඕනේ නැහැ. So that's my conclusion. පාස් වෙන්නම ඕනේ නැහැ. It's where my side. මේ පන්තියේ කරපු එකක් එහෙමම දීලා note එකෙත් තිබිලා උත්තරෙත් කරලත් බැරි නම් it means that particular student not studied at all. Studies කරලා නැත්නම් සල්ලි ගෙවුවා කියලා විභාග පාස් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. That's my personal idea. මොනවා හරි කරන්න ඕනේ ඉතින් නැත්නම් මොකද මේ කරන්නේ? Tamanට අඩුවනේ. ඒකවත් දන්නේ නැත්නම් it's basic නා. ඉතින් සමහර එක ගාන කියවද්දිම තේරෙනවා. asset එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්දවත් බලලා නැහැ නිකමටවත්. We learn it several times. අර මොකද්ද cash basis accrual basis convert කරන්න තිබ්බ පොඩි ඉලක්කම් ටිකක් ලියලා. එකතු කරලා අඩු කරලා මතක නැහැ. cash basis profit එක මෙච්චරයි accrual basis profit එක නැහැ. ඔව් accrual basis profit එක හොයන්න කියලා. අර accrual expenses prepayments ඒ වගේ ටිකක් දීලා. ඒක කරලා නැහැනේ. Not from my area but I did that question in revision. කියන්නේ revision note එකවත් බලන්න නැතුව තමයි exam එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. මම කිව්වා I told it several times now. මේ revision ටිකවත් අඩුම ගානේ බලන්න මේක. Do something. නිසා pass කරන්න නැහැ මම කවුරුත් අතර මේ සැරේ. Don't agree with me. Then you will do something good for this semester. නැත්තම් කවුරුත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. බැරි නම් දාලා අපි නිකන් ඉන්නවා බෑ කියලා. Very poor. ඒ කියන්නේ උවමනාවක් නැහැ. බැරිකම නෙමෙයි. There are chartered accountants. There are people who are qualified. They have enough qualification. All are graduates. ඒ කියන්නේ බැරි වෙන්න බෑනේ එහෙනම්. බෑ නෙමෙයි බැරි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔක්කොටම පුළුවන්. But you don't follow at least basic things. Minimum requirement එක satisfy නැත්තම් 50ක් දෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. So it's fair. එහෙම නෙමෙයි නම් මට කියන්න. එහෙම නෙමෙයි නෑ මේ අපි පාස් වෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි පාස් වෙන්න වටිනායි කියලා. Right? So I told no. So there are two ways of doing. If all questions are totally new, if there is any marginal errors, I do necessary adjustments and pass them. If I repeat same questions that I have given in the class, and if you don't do, no need to do adjustments of margins. අය මම අලුතෙන් ලකුණු දෙකක් එකතු කරලා මාජින් හදලා මේ පාස් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඔය ක්ලාස් එකේ කරපු එක එහෙම මම දීලා තියෙනවා නම් ලකුණු 40ක් තියෙනවා එහෙම මෙතන පාස් වෙන්න නිකන්. ඕන කෙනෙක්ට පුළුවන් ඒක කරන්න. Only I think 2 or 3 questions new. As I remember. All others from revisions නේ. ඒ දෙක විතරක් බලලා නිකන් කටපාඩම් කරන් යන්න තිබ්බ උත්තර ඉලක්කනොත් ඒවනේ. ඇස් දෙක වහන් ගිහලා ලියන්න තිබ්බ ඉලක්කන් ටික ඇත්තට. එහෙම කරා නම් හරියට. ඒකවත් කරලා නැහැ. very good ඇත්තට මට අද උදේත් හරිනම් සමහර අයගේ නහය වල එහෙම දන්නේ නැති උදේ. මේ දවස් ටිකෙන් බලනවා right? අද උදේත් බැලුවා. ඇත්තට මටත් තරහ යනවා මොකද මේ මෙච්චර කරලත් මේකවත් බලලා නැහැ නේ කියලා. Very simple thing. Right, look, the fair value of the service component may be calculated. Look, fair value of service component, how do you calculate? Maybe. How do you calculate it? Where's the figures part? It's missing. Yes, it's there. Right? I missed that. Sorry. I missed that. I think basic facts. Yeah, I missed this slide. They say, look here. R will provide the service for how many years? I missed this fact actually. 20 years. Usual price is 120. But the discounted price offered by this company to C is 100. එතකොට මේ electricity මේ telephone connection එකට discount එක කීයක් හම්බ වෙනවද? Per unit. It's 20. 20 හම්බ වෙනවා discount එකක්. Monthly charge. Monthly charge එක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 120 හැබැයි මේ customer දෙන්නේ කීයද? කීයද monthly charge එක? 100 වලට. Then how to calculate the discount that you expect in view? 20 into per month ne? 20 into 12. Look, 20 into 12 into how many years? 20 years. Then what is total discount? 4,800. එතකොට ඇත්තටම මේගොල්ලෝ කීයක් charge කරාද customer ගෙන්? 10,000. Out of 10,000, 4,800 for what? 4,800 for the discount which is to be given over 20 years. එහෙනම් balance 5,200 මොකටද? Establishment of that particular මේක නම් මොකද්ද? Telephone substation. Understand? හරි. අපිට මේකට මේ කැම්පස් එකට ඉන්ටර්කොම් සෙට් එකක් ගන්නත් එහෙමනේ. වෙනම ගහන්න ඕන අර මොනවද ගෙනල්ලා හයි කරන්නේ. ඒක we call it telephone substation. මොනවද පොඩි පොඩි කෑලි කෑලි ගොඩක් තියෙන පෙට්ටියක් ගෙනල්ලා හයි කරනවනේ. ඒකට තමයි ඔය telephone substation කියලා කියන්නේ. Look, original double entry. Answers are there. Property, plant and equipment debit. මෙන්න මම ගත්තා. පළවෙනි ආපු 10,000. I told this double entry previously. Deferred revenue credit. Right? From deferred revenue, what is connection component? That will be charged to revenue. Why to do so? 5,200 deferred revenue debit. It will be charged to revenue. ඒක pure revenue එක. ඇයි? ඒක අර connection එක establish කරන්න හම්බෙච්ච සල්ලි ටික. But But balance 4,800 will be remaining this now. If you draw this thing account like this, 10,000 here, and from this 5,200 we transfer to income. So make it 4,800. We call it deferred revenue. One number me entry PP debit, property plant and equipment debit 10,000. Revenue credit, how much? 5,200. And deferred revenue credit, how much? 4,800. Right? So then annually, 4,800 divided by 12, 240 we have to charge to where? Income. This is discount income. Compensate. Understand? Also, this is, yes, 20 years. 20 years supply, then the contract is signed. Look, good point there. Useful lifetime of the asset is different in this case. In this example, in my previous example, I said I didn't actually say any number of years for agreement. Eke kelim man kiye mokayda? Kiyala natham daanne mona year ekada? Useful lifetime of the asset. Make 20 years agreement එක තිබ්බ නැත්නම් අපි ගහන්න කීයද අත්තර මේ? What is a substation lifetime? 25 years. 25 years වලට ගන්න තිබ්බා. හැබැයි agreement එකේ කියනවා substation lifetime is 25 years. හැබැයි supply එක දෙන්නේ discount එක දෙන්නේ 20 years වලට. ඒ නිසා අපි 20 years වලට. Understood? නැත්නම් අතන 25 years වලට යන්න තිබුණා. Right. This is depreciation, huh? Scenario 2. Same facts, huh? In scenario 2, R constructs the substation itself. ඉස්සෙල්ලා ගේම කතුනේ. අර කිව්වා හැබැයි. කවුද හැදුවේ ඒක? ඉස්සෙල්ලා ගේ. If you look at the facts. C හැදුවා. හැබැයි charge කරා කීයක්ද? customer හැදුවට ඒගොල්ලෝ connection fee කියලා ගත්තා. කීයක් ගත්තද? 10,000 ගත්තා connection. ගන්නවනේ එහෙම. එතන අපි මොකුත් හැදුවේ නැතත් connection fee කියලා ගන්නවනේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ගන්න. එහෙම ගන්නව ගානක්. මොකද supply එක දෙන්න කියලා කීයද ගන්නව? In scenario 2, R constructs the substation itself and C pays the cost of the construction, that is R receives cash rather than asset contribution from C. Another example. Now R will get cash. Using that cash, the R should construct this asset on behalf of the customer. Then look the double entry. Now cash debit 10,000, right? The company will get cash. And deferred revenue credit 10,000. By spending that money, look, company should construct the asset. Then PPE debit, cash credit. Now here we believe same amount of money we receive, we spend to construction. Is it practical every time? No, there may be deviation. No worries. Deviation will be saved inside the cash. We will do that kind of question also. Then deferred revenue. Look, revenue inside this 10,000, deferred revenue, there is part which is receipt for the discount component and other part only for the service. Like a service income එක කෙලින්ම. Service එක දෙනවට තමයි ඒ 5200 හම්බෙන්නේ. හරි? Service එක දෙනවට. මොන හරි හැදුවට නෙමෙයි. Service එක දෙනවට. So therefore, this 5,200 here debit, income statement credit, and the balance deferred revenue, and those entries will remain unchanged. එකම වෙනස උනේ මොකද්ද? මෙතන අපිට හම්බුනේ cash. ඉස්සෙල්ලා නම් cash හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ. කෙලින්ම construct කරා. Look this example. This is one of the past paper question. This is 14 past paper question. This exam. ඔය ටික ඉගෙනගෙන අපි විභාගෙට ගිය අතර මේ ගාන හැදුවා විභාගෙට ගිහලා. බලමු මොකක්ද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Same question I gave again in 2000. Now 13 question. 13 and 15. මම දෙකේම repeat කරා ඔයක question එක පොඩ්ඩක් ඉලක්කම් වෙනස් කරලා. දෙපාරක්. With one additional feature as I remember. දැන් බලන්න මේකේ මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා. A company provide a cool room facility. This is actually story. Actually, I made this as a result of one of our final year students. ඒගොල්ලෝ internship කියලා ඒගොල්ලෝ training එකේදී ඒක ළමයෙක් present කරපු case එකක් ඕක. Factual facts but figures will be changed. A company provide cool room facility for its customers. Cool room facility දන්නවනේ? අර මාළු මේ වගේ දාලා තියෙන chill house කියලා කියන්නේ. Cool rooms are constructed in the company's premises and maintained by the company itself. It will agree to provide service for next 5 years. Company කියන්නේ හදන එක්කනාගේ මගේ මේකේ දාලා තියෙනවා. ඒකට customer ට ඇවිල්ලා පුළුවන් එයාගේ බඩු ටික දාලා තියන්න මේ cool room එකේ. Right? A customer paid 110,000 to construct a cool room on behalf of the customer. Customer ගෙවුවා කීයද? 110,000 ගෙවුවා initially to construct the cool room. Construction cost of the cool room is how much? 140. Customer ගෙවුවේ කීයද? 110. හැබැයි මට කීයක් යනවද ඇත්තට මේක හදන්න customer? 100 හැදුවට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඇයි මගේ අතින් 30ක් දාලා හදනවා මම ඇයි? I have kind of service income in the future. Customer ට ගෙවනවනේ ඊට පස්සේ rent එක ඊට අමතරව. That's the reason. Customer pays 12,000 rental for the usage of the cool room facility for a quarter. Quarter එකට customer ගෙවනවා 12,000. හැබැයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන්ම customer කෙනෙක්ගෙන් කීයක් charge කරනවද? Look. Normal charge for a quarter is 15,000 from other customers. අරයා මට කීයක් ගෙවුවද එකපාර? 1,10,000 ගෙවුවානේ. ඒ නිසා මම එයාට දෙනවා මොකද්ද? discount එකක්. Look, 3,000 discount. Usual lifetime of the cool room is 10 years. නිකන් හදලා මට කියන්න. ඔයා නම් customer මේ agreement එකට යනවද නැද්ද? ඔයාට හම්බෙන benefit එක කීයද? අවුරුදු 10ක් හම්බෙනවා. Now, cool room usual lifetime is 10 years. Now, provide, oh yes, they provide service for 5 years. It's true. Cool room එක තියෙනවා හැබැයි 10 years. ඒ වුණා ඒතර ඒ service එක ඊට පස්සේ ගන්න පුළුවන් දෙවෙනි කඩලා හරි. ආසයක් තියෙනවා එහෙනම්. Cool room එක තියෙනවනේ ඒක. හරි කොහමද අවුරුදු 5ක් හම්බ වෙනවා කීය ගානේද discount එක? For a quarter 3,000. එතන අවුරුද්දට 3 වරක් අතර 12යි. 60 හම්බ වෙනවා පහසුකමක් ඇත්තට. පේන්නේ නැති වුණාට. කස්ටමර්ට. ඔයා කීයක් දැන් ගෙවනවද? 110. දැන් බැලුව බැලමට නම් කස්ටමර් කැමති වෙයිද මේ වගේ ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එකකට? නෑ, කස්ටමර් පාඩුයි. ඇයි? කස්ටමර් දැන් ගෙවනවා 110. එයාට හැබැයි අනාගතේ හම්බෙන්නේ කීයක බෙනිෆිට් එකද? Only 60,000 benefit. But sometime maintenance and everything is done by you. Company, not the customer. දැන් customer හදාගත්තා නම් cool room එක maintenance උත් කරගන්න එපයි. ඒතකොට මිනිස්සු දාන්න ඕන, අයිස් බැඳුනාම කඩන්න ඕන, ඕවා තියෙනවනේ ඔගේ කතන්දර ගොඩක්. ඉතින් ඒ වාසියක් තියෙනවනේ. එහෙනම් ඒ නිසා සමහරවල්ලාට 110,000 වලට යන එක වාසි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. The company is expert on cool room. No? They will have many cool rooms. ඒතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒවා maintain කරගන්න එක. Lazy. අපි එක cool room එකක් හදන්න maintain කරන්න යන cost එකේ ළමාට හුඟක් වැඩි. Understand? ඒකට වෙන මිනිහෙක් තියන් ඉන්න බෑ. So therefore sometimes there will be a benefit. Understand? Right, anyway. Now we are going to look at it from the company point of view. Now how to pass double entries for this? කියන්න බලන්න දැන් මේකට accounts තියන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා? For the company, අර cool room එක හදපු company එකට. customer ට නෙමෙයි. They will get how much first? 110,000. What's the double entry? Cash debit 110,000. Deferred revenue credit 110,000. Yes. But cool room is constructed on 140,000. PPE debit 140,000. Cash credit 140. හදන්න යනවනේ 140. Second entry. Third entry. That 110 should be splitted. දෙකට කඩා ගන්න ඕනේ. Deferred revenue එක. One party is purely for the revenue. One party is for deferred revenue. Why? For the discount that you are expecting to provide to the customer in the future. Over 5 years. කොහොමද බෙදන්නේ? Discount එක කීයද එහෙනම් එයාට යන? Like you said previously. 60,000. Out of this 110, 60 will be actual deferred revenue. 60 and balance 50 you charge to your income statement. Understand? 50 will be income statement and 60 will be deferred revenue. 60 should be divided by how many years? 5 years. Hey, cool room facilities agreement only for 5 years. 5, 12 year, sorry, per year 12, you have to charge to income statement. එතකොට ඇත්තටම පළවෙනි අවුරුද්දේ income statement එකට කීයක් යනවද හරිනම්? 62ක් යනවා. ඇයි? 50 plus අර 60 වලින් ඒක පහෙන් බෙදලා ඉන්නේ 12 ගානේ. Understood? So everything will be charged to income statement. What is depreciation? 140 divided by 10. They are 10. Why? Cool room is used for 10 years. Understand? Look here. The answer. 110 cash debit, deferred revenue credit. From this 50 we charge to revenue. Look here. Deferred revenue debit. How to take 50? 3000 discount per quarter. How many quarters per year? 4 into number of years 5. Then total 60. 110 minus 60. It is 50 is income statement. Then this 60 part by part we have to recognize into income 12 each. හරි? අවුරුද්දෙන් අවුරුද්ද 12 දාපු මොක බිඳුව වෙනවා අන්තිමට. Depreciation is 140 divided by 10. It's 14. As usual we have to count. That's all about what? If number 18. Transfer of asset from customers. Understand? Very simple. Even it seems like too technical, but I don't think that much. Hope you can understand this very well. But remember, even though you read all these facts given extracted as it is from the standard, it's quite difficult. If you go with these questions, it is easy. Right? Right. Then finally, IFRIC number 18 basically discuss with transfer of asset from customers. According to this scope, they discuss only accounting for the recipient or the receiver. In that case, they say you have to recognize that receipt as a deferred revenue. If there is any separately identifiable service component which is to be provided over number of years, you have to recognize it as deferred revenue and recognize part by part over number of years. On the other hand, otherwise you have to recognize it as part of income for the received year. And depreciate it as usual and recognize it as PPE into books of accounts. We learn how to recognize PPE value. It is at cost usually. If the cost is not clear, you take fair value and recognize it as cost and go in cost model by depreciating for each year. That's summary of IFRIC number 18. We need to have break. So then there is another one. Shall I have small break? 10 minutes? Okay, we'll have a small break till I upload it. Right, after the break we are going for another IFRIC. This is fairly small one. IFRIC number 17. Distribution of non-cash asset to owners. Distribution of non-cash asset to owners. Right. So very simple, very narrowed scope we have in this compared to the previous one. The previous one was not that kind of big one. So this is third IFRIC we are going to touch. Remember there are 4 main areas in our syllabus. First part already we have out of 3 main areas already we have covered 2. Group accounts already completed, not that much like, but basics we have covered. Then some IFRS and IAS already we have covered. This is third area about IFRICs. Paper also will comprise like that. There will be some questions from these IFRICs. But fortunately, actually, I am not going to combine all these areas. So it is kind of easy thing for students. That means if any student is not competent enough on IFRIC, so they can ignore that total question. I'll do in that way. I don't want to mix everything to embarrass students. So if any student is not competent on group accounts, they can ignore it totally. But you can't score more than 50%, 100%, because you will have at least 3 questions from group accounts. 1 or 2, 2.5 or maybe 2 questions from group accounts, 1 or 2 questions from IFRIC. Probably 1 question will be from IFRIC, having 3 or 4 parts. And another 2 questions from other areas. Financial instruments definitely 1. And anyway, I'll let you know at then after when you do revisions. And from IFRS 2, IAS 19, 1. That's how I'm going to speak it. So mostly people do not try for this, but this is easy because I don't ask technical questions, just only for small application of the same. Due to technicality of this IFRIC, questions also like basic ones. You can try it very easily, but anyway you just see that it is possible. Right, at least I'll do 5 or 6 IFRICs. There are some of the small areas that I need to concentrate, like fair value, revaluation model, what is called something like that. There are different small concepts I'll do later. This is I think 10th session, no? I have only 12 lectures. Therefore, probably from next week onwards, Mudit will take 3 lectures. He will do 3, then altogether 13 gone. Then last 2 I will do for revision. Is good, no? I need to keep at least 3 sessions, 2 sessions for revisions. Then Mudit will do at least another 2 IFRIC, 1 or 2 IFRIC. Probably he will do IFRIC number 13 next time. Customer loyalty. So then I will do only 3 sessions. Right, let's see transfer of asset from, distribution of non-cash asset to owners. From the name itself, you can understand what we are trying to discuss. Distribution of non-cash asset to owners. Very simply, if any company pay dividends other than in the form of cash, how to account? Already we have learned how to account for dividends. Last semester also we discussed. If any company pay dividends to its shareholders, retained earnings debit, cash or payable credit. Very simple, no? If it is paid by cash, let's say if it is paid by a different mode other than cash, let's say, good example, some retail outlets in our country, what they do, they give a gift voucher to customers, not in cash, and the owners, the shareholders, they can come back and buy goods and services from the same retail outlet. So then it is not paid by cash, no? The company will send a gift voucher. Let's say if any company, there are 2 shareholders, let's assume. For these 2 shareholders, I don't pay cash. I'll give you, let's say, 10,000 worth of gift voucher to each. So then what you have to do? You have to come and buy goods and services from my retail outlets. So then I have inside, even though I give 10,000 to you, you will come back and buy goods from my outlet. Then there is what? Profit inside it. It means your real dividend is not 10,000. It is less than that, sure. Why? I discharge goods and service, not 10,000. It has a profit margin. It's kind of benefit they have, right? Also, let's say if I am car manufacturer, what I can do? If I need to pay, let's say, 10 million dividends for each shareholder, big shareholders, what I can do? I don't pay cash, I'll give a car. Because I am car manufacturer. Possible, no? So I will give a car which is close to that value, dividend value. So then those are coming non-cash distributions. Now the question is, actually we don't have any IFRS to account for this kind of non-cash distribution to owners. So therefore, IFRIC number 17 says how to account for non-cash distributions to owners. Look, standards again that we are trying to cover. If you can remember this one, there was a question from this also last semester. I asked you to differentiate adjusting and non-adjusting. I just saw differentiate adjusting or something, adjusting or non-adjusting event something, and the money come. Right? Then I gave two events to understand only one or two sentences. Actually, whole answer. Model only. As I remember, three sides of small what is called exercise book. Mage answer. Write it. When you elaborate it, mage model answer podda. You don't want to write a book. Less than that should be your answer, perfect answers. කවුරුත් ලියලා තිබ්බේ නැහැ additional sheet වල ඇත්තටම. පොතේ තමයි ලියලා තිබ්බේ. ඒ ඇති ඇත්තටම හොඳට. It means you don't want to write more. ඒ paper එකට හුඟක් ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. There was concept question for 6 marks. At least if you write the concept, I gave full marks, 2 marks. Yeah. Cali 1 mark, I said 1 mark or 2 marks. Prudence කියලා ලිව්වනම් 2 marks. Only one word. Usually, as according to the expectation, you have to elaborate it. එහෙමත් බැලුවේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඊටතර ලේසි බැලුවේ. වචන ලියලා ලකුණු දුන්නා. But the first one going concern, I can remember the order of the answers also, even though I can't remember questions. අර බල්ල මතකයි දැන් කෝඩ් එක. නේ? ඉතින් ඒකවත් ලියලා තිබුණේ නැහැ තමයි. concept එකවත් දන්නේ නැහැ. Very poor. Now look, if you can remember this one. Events after reporting period, event adjusting, non-adjusting. You can remember I told dividend proposed by a company after the year end, we recognize as non-adjusting event. It comes into this IFRIC. IFRS 3, business combination already we have done, goodwill and everything we accounted according to this. Non-cash asset for held for sale. Sorry, non-current asset held for sale. This thing also applicable, IFRS 5 we have not learned. If something is classified with the intention of reselling in the future, that asset should not be classified as PPE, should be classified as asset held for sale. Right? You can remember we met this kind of thing under IFRS 9 or IAS 39 also, held for sale, held to maturity, available for sale. Can you remember from IAS 39, financial instruments. It is there, look again. And presentation of financial statement and consolidation, 27. Right, anyway, those are applications. Background already I have mentioned. An item, an entity distributes assets other than cash, I told you. That's what we are trying to discuss under this. Non-cash, but this thing also available, look. Non-cash assets or cash alternative. It means there may be some occasions where the shareholders can select the option. If they need, they can take cash or they can go for non-cash option. That option also available. Then the shareholders will decide which option can be selected. Understand? So in that case also we have to see how to take the fair value of those. Again, look the fair value. You can remember each of standard that we discussed, the term fair value came. You can remember. In all the standards, all the IASs, all the IFRSs, all the IFIX that we discussed, everywhere we met the term fair value, if you can remember, in different mode. That's why I have given you the assignment based on fair value. It is very important concept after 2012 IFRS version. So that's why I asked you to write an essay on fair value application referring to IFRS 13 fair value measurement. Right? Right, scope. Distribution of non-cash is covered by this, and distribution that give owners choice of receiving either non-cash or cash. Both are covered by the standard. It is cash alternative. Let's say now I propose like this. I am going to pay dividends to my shareholders, but I can propose them. You can buy gift vouchers, this much worth according to the value, or you can have cash. The shareholders will decide whether you get gift voucher or cash. That is also covered by this IFIC. I'll come to this example later because I made this example. Issues. Again, look, all IFICs are specifically discussing some questions. So only one sentence has answered. Previous case, if you can remember, whether the asset is met the definition. If it is met, how do you measure it? How credit entry is recorded? And how do you recognize over the years? Those are the 4 questions we made, if you can remember, in 18, IFRIC 18. Only 4 questions. Here we have another 3 questions. When did the entity recognize the dividend? When? How should an entity measure the dividend payable? කොච්චරක් measure කරනවද dividends කියලා දන්නවද liability එක? And when an entity settles the dividends payable, that's a question. Let's say like this. Today, let's assume my year end is 31st March. By, let's say, 20th March, I propose dividends to you, to my shareholders. I say, okay, now this is my option plan. I'm going to pay you dividends, this much. You can have gift vouchers or you can have cash. Then when I propose it, on, let's say, 20th March. What is my year end? 31st March. But I will pay you cash 10th April. 3 different dates. No? Liability should be recognized when the proposal is made to you. Understand? At the end of the year, value, the liability. When I settle on April 10th, I should see what is actual choice of my shareholders. ඒගොල්ලෝ cash ගනීද? ඒගොල්ලෝ goods ගනීද? මොකද්ද කියලා දැනගන්නේ මම ඇත්තටම කවද්ද? At the date of settlement. Look, 3 different dates. So therefore, look, it says when an entity settles the dividend payable, when entity settle it, how should it account for any difference between the carrying amount of the assets distributed and carrying amount of the dividend payable? මං හිතන් හිටියලා ඇත්තටම gift vouchers මෙච්චරක් දෙනවා කියලා, cash මෙච්චරක් දෙනවා කියලා. ඒක එහෙම වෙනවද? There may be a difference. So then how to account for the difference? Understand? So we'll see. Right, first question. When to recognize a dividend payable? Very clear. Already you have learned this from events after reporting date. I told you, if you can remember, dividend is recognized as a liability when the confirmation is given for the dividend declaration. Dividend payment එක confirm වුණ දවසට තමයි මොකද්ද? We pay dividends. We recognize dividend as liability. Give me one. what it says, there are two guidance. When declaration of dividend, example by management or board of directors, is approved by the relevant authority. When the declaration is approved, we can recognize it as the date where we need to recognize dividend. Also, when the dividend is declared and no further approval is needed, if the jurisdictions does not require further approval එකක් අවශ්‍ය නැත්නම් තවදුරටත්, so then we recognize it as the dividend payable date. Or if there is any approval is needed, once the approval is given, it should be the dividend payable date. So very clear? So that's why, if you can remember, for ordinary shareholders, dividend proposals are not recognized as liability. We wrote a note, if you can remember. Why? The confirmation is given at the AGM with the voting of shareholders. Right? So that means usually for dividend for ordinary shareholders, confirmation will be given at the AGM. Therefore, proposed dividend for ordinary shareholders are not recognized as liability in books of accounts. We wrote a note. Understand? Can you remember? Last semester. Right. Now, when is clear? Second question. Measurement of dividend payable. What it says? An entity shall measure liability to distribute non-cash asset as dividend to its owners at what value? It says. Look. Fair value of the asset to be distributed. If you give cash, what is fair value? Cash? No difference. The problem will come then. If you are going to give a set of goods, or let's say asset, then the fair value of assets or goods will be the value of what? Dividends payable. ඒකනේ අපිට එන question එක. Then second question also clear. But the problem will come if it is like this. If an entity gives a choice to select whether you get cash or non-cash, then එතකොට අපි දන්නවද කොහොමද fair value හොයන්නේ? In that case, you have to calculate fair value based on one, probability of selection or the choice is to be made by shareholders. මට ඉන්නවනම් shareholders 100ක්, I decide based on probability factor how much option will select on cash option. I have to decide it based on the reasonable estimate of probability of selecting each alternative. It's another area. Also, what we need to do, if it is payable at the end of the reporting date, what you have to do? At the end of each reporting date or at the time of settlement, also and also at the date of settlement, entity should review and adjust the carrying amount of dividend payable. So then we learn few things here. First point we learn when it is recognized as dividend payable, when the decision is confirmed. How to measure dividend? It's at fair value. How to calculate the fair value? If there are 2-3 options, based on probability of the selection, take the fair value. We'll see how to do it. At the end of each year, we have to review or recheck the fair value. Equity. Should we charge to equity? Look. Equity. Also, at the time of settlement, if there is any difference between the already made liability and the adjustment or the settlement amount, it also should be adjusted to profit and loss. We will learn it later. Right? Look this example. Where it says, example, the share capital of the company X is divided into 2 classes. There are 2 classes of shareholders in a company. Class A shareholders and Class B shareholders. There are 10 classes of A shares and which owned by the original founders of shareholders. In the year ended 31st December 2016, Company X decided to pay dividend to Class A shareholders. There are two classes of shareholders, Class A and Class B. There are 10 Class A shareholders. They are going to pay dividends to them. What it says. Company X decided to give the Class A shareholders a choice between receiving a dividend of cash for rupees 5,000, look, million, 5,000 million, or form of a non-cash asset. එක්ක 5 million cash ගන්න පුළුවන්, non-cash asset එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. What is it? What is a non-cash asset? A non-cash asset is a standard model of a car. That means they may be manufacturing cars. In company's 2013 car fleet, each such car has a fair value of 6 million. Look. car එකක් ගත්තොත් එයාට හම්බ වෙනවා fair value කීයද? Fair value is 6 million. No worries. Why? Company has manufacturing cost sure less than that. ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ නේ. Company එකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Their real cost is less than that, sure. But they are going to give it, I am sure it is less than 5,000 even. But they are going to settle 5,000 worth of dividends. From the customer side, it is fair. Why? If they get cash and going to buy the same thing from the market, they can buy it for 5 million. Understand? But now, there is value of that. But the thing is, if you select goods option or car option, you have to buy the same car. You can't have your own choice. car එක තමන්ට ඕනේ car එකක් ගන්න බෑ. අර දෙන car එක ගන්න ඕනේ. Understand? So that's the point. That means it's like win-win situation for both the parties. Customer also has a chance. Why? For instead of 5,000, he can get 6,000 worth of car from the market. Now he's going, if it is to be bought from the market, you have to spend 6 million, more than that. Then 5 million වලට හම්බ වෙනවා ඒකට අතර මාර car එක. That's the benefit. So now company X estimate that 80% of class A shareholders will take option of cash dividends and 20% will take non-cash option. What is the fair value of this dividend payable? 80% of shareholders will take the cash option. Then 5 million වලින් 80%, 0.8 plus 6 million into 0.2 will be the fair value of dividends payable. Look. Number of shareholders. I couldn't. How many shareholders? They say it's 10 shareholders. Multiplied by 10. Then fair value of this option, dividend payable, will be around 52 million. What is the double entry? Fair value of dividend is 52 million. Double entry is retained earnings debit, dividend payable credit, liability. Understand? So that's how we usually record dividends payable. Third question, last one. I told you the scope is a little narrowed. Accounting for any difference between the carrying amount of the asset distributed and the carrying amount of the dividend payable when the entity settles the dividend payable. Look here. At the settlement date, we have to recheck the fair value. The settle current දාලා තියෙන liability වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Even though we have, based on probability in the previous one, we estimate the liability will be how much? 52 million. Will it be equal to actual amount? No, අපි හිතුවේ මොකද්ද? 80% will go for cash, 20% people will go for car option. That's kind of estimate we made. Actual? No, definitely no, because we had kind of probability. Sometimes everybody will go for car option. We don't know. එහෙම වුණොත් එහෙම කීයද? 6 million into 10 වෙනවා. value එක. 60 million වෙයි. Everybody will go for cash option. එහෙම වුණොත් කීය වේද? 50 million වෙයි. Understand? So therefore, at the time of settlement, there may be a difference. That difference should be charged to profit or loss at the time of settlement. Profit or loss at the time of settlement. Understood? You see that. Then thereafter presentation and disclosure. That's all about it. Theory wise, that's it. Even though you learn that's all the IFRIC 17 says. I'm sure this is not sufficient to understand the full version. What it says, very briefly, on the first question, what it says? Dividend payable should be recognized as a liability once the payment is confirmed or there is no further confirmation is needed. Point number 1. Point number 2. Dividend payable should be valued at which value? Fair value. Number 3. At the end of each reporting period, at the end of each reporting period, we have to remeasure the fair value. If there is any difference, it should be charged to equity. At the time of settlement, if there is any difference between the already made liability and the settlement value, that difference should be charged to profit or loss. That's it. Look, only few points we learn from each IFRIC. But the practice is not that much easy. Theory wise, those are the things you need to remember. And no need to remember all these points as it is. It's quite difficult. For us even we can't remember all these as it is. But we know the content is this. If something happen like this, we should account like this. That's it. Also disclosures, this is little easy because important because this is given by L case number 1. What is this? An entity shall present difference described in the above slides as separate line item in the profit or loss. If there is any difference of the liability and the settlement at the time of settlement date, to be recognized profit or loss as income or expense, it should be disclosed as separate line item. It's important. ඒ කියන්නේ වැදගත් එකක්. අපි කලින් හිතන් හිටියේ මේ ගාන ඒ වුණාට මෙච්චරක් settlement එකට ගියා. The difference should be recognized as expense or income. How it happens the expense? Already provided liability is less than the amount that we settle, then it will be expense. Already made provision is greater than or 52 million. If it is greater than the amount settled, it will be income, right? It comes actually from L case number 8, estimate change. Estimate changes are adjusted prospectively, that's a theory. Carrying amount of the dividend payable at the end of each year, decrease or increase amounts, everything should be disclosed. You just read those later. Let's see one example, not this. Look this. A property development company is owned by 3 founding shareholders. In the year ended 31st December 2015, it decides that instead of paying a cash dividend to shareholders, it will distribute to each shareholder a one bedroom flat in a property. Right? It has developed by means of dividend in kind. The flats have been recorded in the company's balance sheet at the cost of rupees 100,000 each. Small values, only for the study purpose. Fair values, however, estimated to be 300,000 each. ඒගොල්ලෝ මේක construct කරලා තියෙන කීයද? 100,000 වල. But the fair value, the market value of the same is 300,000. It declares a dividend and receives shareholders approval on 31st December 2015. Assume that year end also 31st December. දැන් මොකද කරන්නේ අපි? What is the fair value of this? How many shareholders? 3 shareholders. ඒකට කීයක් දෙනවද? 3 into 300,000. How much is it then? 900,000. Double entry. Retained earnings or equity debit 900,000. Dividend payable credit 9,000. It is on settlement date, and both dates are here same. Thereafter, what you do? What is the property you are losing? 100,000 into 3, 300,000. Property credit, value debit at the time of settlement. Property or asset credit, 300,000 at the time of settlement. Liability debit, how much? 300,000. As a result of that, at the date of settlement, you will have 600,000 difference where? In the liability account. If I draw liability account, it's like this. So if I draw my liability account, here you will credit 900,000. Retain equity debit or retained earnings debit, here credit. This is liability account, dividend payable. right? Liability. When you settle, you will pay only year debit, your property account credit, PPE credit, how much? 300,000. There is 600 difference here. Year debit, value credit. Profit and loss account credit, 600,000. Very simple. Understood? So that's it. Not to retained earnings. That's 600,000. It goes to in that year profit and loss account. Settlement year profit and loss account. Understood? Right, fine. Let's move forward. Same story I have explained here. No need to read. Another story. Same facts. Assume my year end is 31st March. Year end is 31st March. Same story, same facts. 100,000, there are 3 directors, there are 3 shareholders, value, fair value is 300,000, same. If it says, look, accordingly it recognized, settlement will be made at the end of December, but my year end is 31st March. Let's assume the proposal was made on 1st March. If so, what will happen? 900,000 already I have recognized. How? Liability debit. Sorry, made a mistake. Retained earnings debit. Liability credit 900,000. I have to, according to the theory, what it says, on the settlement date, if I draw timeline, it is like this. Dividend proposed, let's say on March 1st. Year end is 31st March. Settlement date is December 31st. 3 different dates. Proposal was made on this date. This is year end. This is year end. This is settlement date. This is settlement date. On this date, I have to recognize at fair value. What is the double entry? Liability credit 900, retained earnings debit 900. On this date, the IFRIC 17 says, on your reporting date, you have to remeasure your fair value. Accordingly, they have remeasured it. They said the fair value of this property is not 300. How much is it? 350. Then 350 into 3, how much? 1050. But in my liability account, I have only how much? 950. Sorry, 900. Therefore, I have to increase it by another 150. Here credit my retained earnings debit. Increment of fair value. Decrease නම් other way around. හරි? මගේ fair value එක වැඩි කරා මම at the end of the reporting period. Now further I go to settlement date. Now I am going for the settlement date. Settlement date, the value will be different. On the settlement date, what is value it says? Same. Yeah. Here 1050 I have. If it is same means 350. Then 1050 here debit. Where do credit? Not 1050, made mistake. 300 here debit. Why? Property value is 300, no? Cost of the original cost of this. 100 into 3. That 300 liability debit. Where do credit? Property accounts. Oh, whatever the thing you give, they are credit. Or disposal account credit. If you have depreciation and all, you have to consider disposal profit or loss separately there. Understand? ඒකට දැන් මේ asset එක අපි මොනවාරි flats තියෙනවා නම් අපි දැන් asset එකක් නම් එහෙම depreciate කරලා තමයි. ඒව නම් දෙන්නේ. වෙන්න disposal account debit. Sorry, disposal account credit. And balance. ඒකට කීයද දෙන්නේ? 750. 750 here debit. Profit and loss account credit. Understand? So it will be closed. If you are settling it in a different way, අපෝ fair value වෙනස් නම්, you have to recheck the fair value. අපි තමු දැන් on 31st December, again you recheck your fair value. එහෙම කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඇයි? ඒක automatically adjust වෙනවා. At the time of settlement, you no need to recheck fair value. Why? Out of this, you take the cost separately. Balance will be automatically charged to income. Therefore, no need, right? Last one. An entity declares on 30th November 20x8 that it will distribute its freehold land to its owners. Land on 31st March. There are three or four different dates here. This is on November 30th. Then this will be settled in 31st March X9. Approval is not required in this decision. It means again you can recognize dividend. The fair value of this land on this date is 5 million. On this date it's 5 million. November 30th. The entity has balance sheet date of December 31st. What is balance sheet date? In this case, 31st December. Reporting date is 31st December. On that date, the land value is how much? 5.5. Got it? The land distributed to the owners on 31st 20x9 at which date the fair value is 5.7 million. And the carrying value of the land is how much? 3 million. Hope you can understand figures now. This proposal was made on November 30th. On that date, the fair value of the land is 5 million. My year end is 31st December. On that date, my fair value of the land is 5.5 million. On the settlement date of 31st March 20x9, my fair value of the land is 5.7 million. But at the same date, the carrying value is how much? 3 million. Those are the statistics. Hope you can understand now. How to part the first double entry on November 30th? Retained earnings or equity debit, credit to liability 5 million on November 30th. I have to increase that fair value remeasurement by 31st December up to 5.5 million. 0.5 million I have to increase. Therefore, liability credit 0.5 million, retained earnings debit 0.5 million. At the date of settlement, the fair value of the same is 5.7 million. So then I can increase it to 5.7 million. How much it should be then? Another 0.2 million credit to liability and debit it to retained earnings. Value of the land on that date is 3 million. Now in my liability account I have 5.7 million I have accumulated. From that 3 million debit to liability, credit to 3 million property, plant and equipment, or we call it land account, credit to land. Balance 2.7 million in this liability account should be charged to return loss account. That's it. Hope this is easy. Double entries are there. 5 million original one, look. December 31st means a year end. We have to increase it by 0.5 million. You can remember my account. 5 million damma. It was a 0.5 million damma. It was a 0.2 million damma. Then it has 5.7 million there. 3 million for land I settle and balance 2.7 million we charge to profit and loss. So that's it. Okay. At the time of settlement. That's all about non-cash distributions to owners. I told you it's a little small one. So then we completed 2 IFRICs today. I don't think that these are that much difficult. Yes, any clarification? These are little easy. A small area they focus, specific. So therefore I don't think that the Actually, I am not going to test you totally new questions from IFRIX for the exam also. We'll do same sort of questions with small additions. So therefore, if you, అవునే? Yes. Same model, same model. Fair value we have to take. There's an example and answer also there. It's like disposal of subsidiary. That's what I didn't do. But anyway, same model. Even Shia say. We can take fair value easily. No? How? Market value is there. So therefore take the same. Only thing how to calculate the fair value. Number of shares you give into on that date market value. Same thing, same treatment, right? Right, then hope that is enough for this. And we will see the rest of the thing. Probably next week Mudit will take, and I expect to take last two as revision. Then this is 10th lecture as I remember. Right. 9th? Huh? అవును. Next week. You want to? I don't know. But anyway, it was not there. It was there, it was not there. No lectures on that day. Right? If you don't have lectures for the next week, then following week Mudit will come and take the lecture, and thereafter I will take class 2 as revision. To do revision, remember you have to study everything and come. Right? Last time also we did set of revision and we tested the same in the exam, but very poor answering. We hope that same thing will not happen this semester. You come for the revision with enough what is called understanding. I can remember last time when I do revision, people didn't come because you had an assignment to submit on that day. I can remember, right? I think on one people most of the people didn't study revision things, right? So that's why if you get poor results, it is the reason. Right? Don't blame me finally that we didn't have time or something. Most of the people didn't come for the revision last time also. I don't know this time whether people will come or not. Even though you don't come, doesn't matter. You have to study this. Right? I don't see whether people come in online or physically. Even people are not there, I do the lecture. Doesn't matter. Now we have used to do it. Right? Even people are not there, now we can do it. No worries. Right? But you have to study and come for the revision for the last two. Then next couple of weeks, Mudit will take to discuss some concepts as well as IFRIX. Then thank you very much, and we'll see again with revision.